Hi. Hi. Hi, 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 hi. That's gonna be stuck as my YouTube intro forever. Oh well. Welcome to my channel. Today we are going to do our makeup and talk about more famous women in history. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Okay, I'm done. All right, so we are gonna jump right in. I'm gonna tuck my hair back behind my ears so I don't get makeup in it, because, you know. Let me do my redness cover up here real quick. You guys know how I do. Thank you. Perfect. All right, so let's jump into our first famous woman in history. Okay, this woman is absolutely one of my favorites to teach about. I'm a teacher, social studies teacher, and I love mentioning her. And no one's ever heard of her. Let's see if you have. Ching Shi, does she ring a bell? Well, she should, because she is the greatest, most successful pirate in history. Watch out, Blackbeard, she's coming for ya. Yeah, so Ching Shi is a fabulous, amazing story of this amazing woman who becomes like the most successful pirate. Okay, so let me tell you about her. She was born in China in 1775. And also, I'm gonna try very hard to say these names properly. I apologize. I did listen to, Google Pronounce. Just throwing that out there. I'm trying. I'm so sorry if I mess it up. Okay. Ching Shi was born in 1775 in China. And she, when she became a young woman, became a prostitute. That was her first career. And she, through that, somehow met a man named Tang Yi, I think it is how you pronounce it. And this was in 1801. And we have no idea really like why they got together. The stories in history, the accounts vary of what happened. But, like some say like he visited her brothel and she was his favorite prostitute and he fell in love. Some say they just met and fell in love. Who knows? The point is that eventually Ting Yi and Ching Shi will get married. And this will change the course of everything. So they meet, they get married, and Ting Yi happened to be a pirate. He controlled a huge fleet called the Red Flag Fleet in China. And at the time, they had about 200 ships and lots of men under their command. And that's a lot, guys. Like, that's a lot. So, yeah, so they get married, And now we have Ching Shi by Ting Yi's side as his partner, and she's gonna help run the Red Flag Fleet, which is really epic. So because of her, ultimately the fleet will grow from 200 ships to, when Ting Yi and her are ruling together, about 600 ships. Guys, like 600 pirate ships? That's a lot. There's a lot of pirate ships just sailing around the ocean. And that's just like one pirate fleet. Like there were tons of others out there. Anyway, to give you a frame of reference for like how great this is, the most well-known pirate that in Western culture that we think of is probably Blackbeard, right? And he only controlled about 400 ships. 200 to 400-ish. So yeah, she blew him out of the water. You like that zoom in? See my makeup? All right, I'm gonna set these under eyes with my translucent powder. I'm gonna try and bake today. We'll see. All right. Okay, so she's partnered with Ching Shi, her husband, and they're running their pirate fleet. And a few years into their marriage, Ching Shi passes away. And the accounts, I don't know, it doesn't matter. This is about Ching Shi, not Ching Shi. But he passes away, and Ching Shi did not want to go back to her old life. She didn't want to go back to being a prostitute. She enjoyed what she was doing, and she was a powerful woman, and she liked that power. You know, that is what history says. She enjoyed that power and that influence. Good on her. Who doesn't? And so she decides to take over the fleet. Now, traditionally in history, most cultures, when a father passes away, the person who takes over tends to be the male heir. And Ching Shi did kind of have a male heir. He did have an adopted son. That story in itself is very interesting. I have no idea the truth of this, but when you research this, like some accounts like refer to like this young boy as like Ching Shi's like sex object. I don't know. Willingly, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. It came across in some information, not in others. Very fascinating. Point is, adopting someone apparently at that time, if that was your relationship, was not that uncommon, whatever. So Ching Shi had this adopted son, and so when he died, it would have gone to him, but Ching Shi decided she wanted it to go to her. And so ultimately, she will become the leader, and she will blow the red flag fleet up. She will just... I mean, look, when they were together, their fleet was about 600 ships, and that's a lot. After he passed away and she had sole rule, the amount of ships that they had in the red flag fleet, 1,700. I can't even picture that many ships. Like, how do you even keep account or record of all of these people under your command? Speaking of, it's estimated that she had 60,000 men under her command, pirates, working for her in the red flag fleet, which is crazy. So anyways, that's amazing. That's a lot of people, you know, working with her. So yeah, amazing, 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 amazing. Ching Shi takes control, and she just dominates this fleet and makes it so powerful and so big, and they will become renowned. Like they will have a lot of power. So one of the reasons why she was so successful at running this fleet is when she took over, she really put in a strict set of laws and codes for her pirates to follow. She came from a life of working as a prostitute, and she saw, you know, the mistreatment and the sexism against women. So a lot of her rules and laws had to do with protecting women of the time, which is really, really fascinating. At the time, created these rules and these laws, and basically they said that if a pirate married someone or had a concubine or whatever, he had to be faithful. He could not cheat on her, and he would get in a punishment if he was caught being unfaithful to his wives or concubines. So technically, I guess he was allowed to have multiple, but like he had to like make it official. I don't know. And a big one was that she outlawed rape. So she outlawed unfaithfulness, she outlawed rape. So if you were caught raping a woman, you would be executed. Rape was illegal. And in fact, sex on ships was illegal unless it was your concubine or your wife. So yeah, she, fought for those women's rights. And she was brutal. Like, if you got caught breaking this law, you were gonna be punished. That's it. So yeah. All right, I have to do my brows, so I'm gonna do those off camera, and then I will come back to tell you more about Ching Shi and her life as a pirate queen. Okay, I'm back. Brows are done. Oh man, it just, it takes too long to do them on camera, and you just don't want to sit here and watch me for 20 minutes. And you know what? When I watched makeup YouTubers, I always got frustrated when they would cut away and do their brows. Looking at you, Manny MUA, who I get it now, Manny. I get it. I get it. Anyway, back to Ching Shi. Okay, so Ching Shi, when she took over the fleet, she did, I left this out, she married her stepson. So again, they were not like related by blood or anything like that. He had been adopted as a young man by her husband. And so she did marry him. And they are controlling the fleet. She's really controlling it. And so she was a really strict and, forceful warlord, frankly, she was. So along with these laws that she had set up for her pirates to follow, she also set up like a government. And so the pirates had like these rules that they had to follow, but then they also had taxes they had to pay to her. Anything they plundered, they could only keep a certain percentage of, and the rest had to go to the pot or to her. And so, yeah, she did that. And then when they like would take over places, she would also, charge like if they took over an island in China, in a village, she would charge those people taxes. And so like she would basically become their government. Isn't that fascinating? Oh, she's just so cool. So she had this government, she had these laws to protect females, and all of that good stuff. So she would go around to these villages, all the way from Macau to Canton, and they called her the Terror of South China. So she was well known. It said that she, along with being a pirate, was an opium smuggler. We don't really have a lot of proof of that, but that's what they say. And she did a lot of stuff, let's just say. Now, the coolest thing about her is she could not be defeated. So like they tried, pirates from Europe tried, the Chinese government tried, and for whatever reason, they couldn't take her down. They couldn't. She's too powerful, too big, too good. And so ultimately, to get her to stop, basically the government had to resort to diplomatic measures instead of like arrest threats and stuff. And they had to negotiate with her, which was so cool. So ultimately what will happen is the Chinese government will sit down with her. And the story goes, like there's multiple versions out there, but one I read was that she's the one who demanded the meeting, and she marched in with like 17 beautiful women and sat down with the Chinese government and said, here's what we want. But regardless, she sat down with the Chinese government and through negotiations, ultimately got away with it all. It's just so exciting to me. I just freaking love this stuff when we're like talking about these powerful women in history, especially when no one knows about them. But whatever, that's my own thing. Okay, so yeah. So by the way, for my eye, I'm gonna do this beautiful like all over lid with a shimmer on top and then kind of like a goldish highlight and then a brown liner. Yeah, it's gonna be beautiful. So yeah, so she sits down with the Chinese government, and in the end, guess what happens? She gets amnesty for everything she's done, and she gets to keep all of the loot that she had gotten. Yep. she just had to agree that she would stop. She would retire as a pirate and not do this anymore. And also she got amnesty for all of her pirates who worked under her. That's a lot, and good for her. Yeah, she fought for her men. So, and so Ching Shi accepted, and she retired from being the pirate queen. She moved to, I believe, Canton, but I could be wrong about that. And she opened up a gambling establishment and her own brothel, and that is where she lived for the rest of her life. Her stepson husband, sounds really weird. Her stepson husband had passed away not long into their marriage. So when she retired, she did end up remarrying, and she would, after many years, have a child with her third husband, and live her life working and running this gambling house and this brothel. So yeah, isn't that fascinating? Like, it's mind-blowing to me. It's so cool. So that is Ching Shi. All right, I'm going to buff out these eyes and blend this. If you guys are curious, I'm using this palette, the Wanderlust Pharmacy palette. It's got a nice variety. I really like the quality of the shadows, and I just wanted to try a look like this today. Yeah, that's nice. Okay, so I'm kind of just like doing that and smudging the outer like rim, making that blurred. I've gotten really into like the all over eye looks recently. Have you guys, is that something that you guys like? I know it's like probably like not the most common eye look, but I'm really into it. I don't know. Okay, so now I'm gonna kind of do something a little bit different, and I'm gonna take like a very gold, like, I don't want to say like liner, but it's gonna kind of follow the line. So first I really am gonna use like a shimmery gold liner, and just get started here. I'm not gonna use this as my full liner. I'm just putting this pop of gold right there on the inner part of my eyelid. And then I'm going to take Laura Lee's Nudie Patootie, and I'm gonna take Au Naturel, and I'm just gonna kind of like swoop it over my lash line, but not all the way, because I am actually going to use liner. I'm just trying to emphasize this gold here. Very nice. And then I'll also do it on the inner corner and on the underneath. But let me go ahead and do my lower lash line too with the Wanderlust palette. Okay, so let's talk about our second famous woman. So this woman you've probably heard of, but just maybe not for the same reasons. So I want to talk about Hedy Llamar. Yeah, the very famous actress in America in the 20s and 30s and 40s. So Hedy Llamar is known for being an actress. She is known for being supposedly, and I mean, I'm not saying she's not, she's freaking gorgeous, but the most beautiful actress in history, which is really fascinating. And she is gorgeous, she is. But like, it's fascinating because that's what you're known for, when I'm about to tell you that this woman was so much more than that. So much more than that. I mean, she was an amazing actress, don't get me wrong, and bold. I mean, her first film overseas, I mean, this is what, like she was born in 1914, so this had to have been maybe the 1930s. I'm a little off. And it's called Ecstasy, and she like has like an orgasm on camera. I don't know about you, but I don't really hear about that very often from 1930s movies. So she was a trendsetter. She broke down those barriers. It's amazing. Okay, so you probably have heard of her as an actress, and you probably recognize the picture I've put up. But what you don't know is that Hedy was an incredible incredible inventor. And in fact, like, is partly the reason I can even do this video right now. So let me start at the beginning. Hedy, actually, I'm gonna do my liner first. BRB. Okay, did you like that suspense? I'm back. Okay, so now I will really talk about her, I promise. So she was born in 1914 in Eastern Europe. And at the start of her life, she married very, very young. And she's actually going to go on to marry several times. And you know what? Go woman, I support you. But her first husband will be incredibly controlling and abusive. And he is not a fan of her acting work. He is not supportive of that at all. And so it's just a really bad situation. Hedy later on in life writes an autobiography, and she has a quote where she describes like she was a prisoner in her own castle house. And this is how she described her husband. And I'm going to read it word for word, so that's why I'm looking down. So she said, "I knew very soon that I could never be an actress while I was his wife. He was an absolute monarch in his marriage. I was like a doll. I was like a thing, some object of art, which had to be guarded and imprisoned, having no mind, no life of its own." Yeah. Little did he know who he was messing with. Damn. So that was the situation. Well, Hedy decides that she's had enough and she is going to escape. So she flees from her husband and she moves to Paris. And this is where she's going to gain that freedom so that she can do exactly what she wants to do in the acting world and the inventing world and things like that. So, in total, she will be married and divorced 6 times. And the last divorce is really interesting to me. I don't know why or how this happened, but her last marriage would be to her former divorce lawyer. So yeah, so she'll get married and divorced 6 times. And after that, she'll be done. Like she's like, nah, I don't want this. I don't want to be married. So for the last 35 years of her life, she will remain unmarried. So you do you, woman. Whatever makes you happy. Okay, so here's what happened. She becomes this actress in Hollywood and moves to America and all that and does amazing stuff, and it's great. But she, on the side, is also inventing things. She was very, very smart. Some of the things you didn't know she invented, she improved traffic stoplights. She also created this tablet that would dissolve into water and create a carbonated drink. It was not successful because it did not taste good. She says it tasted like Alka-Seltzer. But the biggest thing that she invented was this. She, during World War II, learned about radio-controlled torpedoes, and she wanted to support the war, so she knew about like emergency technology for the Navy, and she basically thought about creating this signal hopping or frequency hopping signal that could not be tracked or jammed, because that was the problem with radio-controlled torpedoes, is that they could be jammed and tracked very easily. So she basically created this frequency hopping thing. I am not a scientist. I explain that to the best of my ability. You can ask Google or Siri about it later. Anywho, so the Navy didn't use it. They rejected it for whatever reason. Maybe it wasn't even like they didn't like it. Maybe it was money. Maybe it was they were just preoccupied with the war, and who knows why. But the Navy was not interested. But I am here to tell you that this will go on to revolutionize and change the world. And you've probably never even heard about her inventing it. And what I mean by that is many, many years later, this technology will be the basis for Bluetooth and Wi-Fi today. Yeah, Yes, Hedy Llamar, the famous actress, is partially responsible for all of that today. Isn't that unbelievable? Like, that is so cool. So yeah, she invented that, and it's patent under her original name. And so you can research that and see. And yeah. So yeah, really, really cool. Now her life, the rest of her life is also very, very interesting. Sorry, I accidentally, went in with the wrong brush. So I'm just trying to buff it out. So, you know, she, had an interesting life. One account is, she actually was arrested and caught shoplifting laxatives and teardrops one day. So that's on record that happened. So that's really interesting. Also, and guys, I'm gonna real quick for my lips do this. I know a lot of people like their foundation and concealer on their lips. I don't, because it only it doesn't make it stay on any better for me, and it just like, it's not fun to deal with. So I don't, but you know what? That's a personal preference. Okay. So, yeah, she, after her 6th divorce, like I said, will be single for, the rest of her life and happily. In the end though, it does get a little sad. She became very reclusive. She lived the last decade of her life in seclusion and only communicated even with her family and her children by phone. I don't know why I couldn't come across that or find that in any of my research about her. But yeah, that's what I found. But ultimately, what an incredible woman, and just so smart. She also helped invent things she dated Howard Hughes, the famous aviator, for a short time. And she also helped like improve and invent things for flying for him. Like, the list goes on and on. It's just so cool. And she just did it as a hobby. She just liked to do it as a hobby. It wasn't her career. And yeah, like this frequency thing that she created would go on to be the basis for Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. It's just glorious. So yeah, I'm gonna do my lips. BRB. I have to come back and pause and tell you that I've tried a lot of lip liners. I know I'm not done. It's all messy. And I just have to throw out that this is the best lip liner I have ever tried in my whole life. Just how it goes on and how it stays on. I've tried a bunch, and this is what has worked for me. So, okay, so I'm back, and now I'm going to finish my look with some Jeffree Star Mannequin, and get this nice nude look going. So yeah, comment below. Have you guys ever heard, I'm sure you've heard of Hedy Llamar, but had you heard about her inventions? Had you heard about Ching Shi at all? Like, I mean, that's gotta be the greatest pirate in history, right? Like, and she didn't even ever get caught. She negotiated her way into a happy, free life of amnesty and keeping everything she stole. So it's quite fascinating. All right. What do you guys think of my look? You like it? Yeah. I like it today. Okay. All right, I'm going to finish up with some setting spray, and I'm going to fan. Voila! All right, well, thank you guys so much for sitting down with me while I do my makeup and listening to these two amazing stories of these incredible women. I will list all the makeup products I used in my pinned comment below. If you're interested, there's some amazing stuff. I'm just saying. And yeah, like and subscribe and share and get like this knowledge out there about these incredible women and research them on your own. It's really cool stuff. So, all right. Bye. And they were pretty high. Like, anything that they plundered, they could only keep a certain percentage of. And excuse me. Goodness. anything they plundered, they could only keep a certain percentage of, and the rest had to go. I'm gonna buff this again because I'm a crazy person